Carly, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mark Atkins. I am director of the OMRI program, and I'm excited to talk with you. We want you to just be, comfortable, relaxed. I don't like the word interview because it feels very one way. I like for us to think of this as a conversation.
Awesome,
Okay.
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I'd like to start with a quick review of your application.
Okay,
Okay. I have your address as 123 Elm Street, Carmel 46032.
correct.
And your phone number 317-555-6789.
Yep,
And your email is carlyb@gmail.com.
yes.
Perfect. Okay, so you attended Ivy Tech. Is that the only school you've been to?
That is the only school I've been to.
Okay, great. We'll go and take a look at your transcripts here in just a moment.
Okay,
Okay, on the employment side, you were employed, or you're currently employed at K&M Distribution, which is a retail warehouse, and you've been there since October 2021. Can you tell me more about what you do there?
so I'm in charge of packaging and labeling any kind of items that we have for shipping. I'm in charge of managing all the different packages going out, making sure everything's accounted for.
And then when you say in charge of, are you a supervisor? Are you directed, told what to do by other people?
I'm directed and told what to do by other people,
Okay.
but I'm supervising each package going out.
Do you supervise other people?
No, I do not.
Okay, great. So you were there since, you've been there since October 2021. And then prior to that, you worked at the Hamilton County Clerk's Office from 2017 to 2019. Tell me about that role.
So at the county clerk's office, I printed and processed different kinds of letters that are being mailed. I was more of a teller on that side, talking to customers, helping them to buy stamps or receive their mail, helping them get ready to ship things out.
Okay, good. So you were there until 2019. You started your job at K&M Distribution in 2021. What were you doing between 19 and 2021?
I took a little break and was just more trying to figure out what my next steps were. So I was shadowing a little bit in healthcare and just helping take care of my sick mom.
Okay. What other roles did you shadow?
I actually in the MRI department, the radiology department and surgery, just to see, I knew I wanted to be in healthcare after taking care of my sick mom. I got an interest in it, and I connected with different recruiters on different possible positions, like PCT level, entry level positions,
Okay.
and from there just shadow different departments to see which avenue I want to take in healthcare.
Great. Okay, so let's take a quick look at your transcript. As you said, you've only attended Ivy Tech, and you attended Ivy Tech from, it looks like 2000, starting with 2003, and then you were there until 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you took a break, and then you went back to Ivy Tech 2013 through 2015. And then more recently, you returned to Ivy Tech in 2020. So what was your original plan when you started at Ivy Tech in 2003?
I just graduated high school, and just being completely transparent, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I was just taking some classes, and my parents were paying for it. But to be honest, I wasn't really motivated. I just took the classes because I was told to do it, but I wasn't really that driven, and I wasn't being held accountable. So that's why my grades reflect poor scores, or I withdrew from classes. Took a break from school to try to figure out really what I wanted to do, and I was kind of given an ultimatum from my parents about wasting money and wasting my time. So then in 2013, I decided it was time for me to get back into school, trying to figure out what I'm passionate about, and I took a couple classes. Then through 2015, took a break. As you can see, my grades were better than the first go around, but then I started to lose steam just because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then as I spoke about earlier, my mom getting sick and wanting to go into healthcare, that's what really motivated me and sparked my interest into healthcare. And I knew that the grades that I currently had were not, they were strong the second go around, but they weren't adequate to get into a program like this. So as you can see, from 2020 to 2023, I really try to step up my game, prepare myself for the rigor of what your program would be like.
Okay, So is it fair to say that when you went back to school in 2013, you were a more mature student?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what do you think, other than being a more mature student, what do you think accounted for better grades in 2013?
A big part of it was I was responsible for paying for it. And, I held myself accountable because it was my money going out of my account, and I wanted to do the best I could to succeed and to better myself, to put myself in a strong position to have a great career.
Isn't it interesting how being accountable or being responsible for your own education can really change
Absolutely.
things?
And I was
Okay.
pretty upset with myself. I know what I'm capable of doing, and that first go round of college was not who I'd like to represent myself as. And looking at my GPA, I am ashamed of it, but showing what I'm capable of now, I really hope that's what you consider.
Fair to say that your early college work is not reflective of who
Absolutely
you are
not.
as a student today?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I've noticed then, as I look through your transcript, most of your Ivy Tech work, you've taken just 1 or 2 classes at a time.
Mhm.
In the summer of 2020, you did take 7 credits. That's a busy summer
Mhm.
for you in 2020. But when was the last time you were enrolled in college level courses full time?
Full-time would be 2023, but, I'm sorry, not full-time. Summer would be my only time. I had a heavy work or course load, and the reasoning was just affordability, paying for my own. I wasn't able to financially pay for all the courses and still work. And with that one semester, I really wanted to ensure that I can do it before I apply for this program. Continuing to work right now is to have enough money saved, so when I do go through the program, if I make it in, I can cut back on work. But I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I would be able to take X amount of credit hours and still maintain good grades.
Okay, so you're currently, you've been taking 2 courses at a time,
Mhm.
also working full-time at K&M Distribution. How do you feel that if you get accepted into the MRI program, how do you feel you'll transition to a full-time semester when your record you haven't had a full-time semester?
This might be naive in me, but I just anticipate doubling the workload of what I'm doing now, and it is feasible if I cut back my work hours. I've already worked with work on it about, how many hours I can only work max to make sure that I'm being able to have enough, double what I'm doing currently, to dedicate to schooling. So I know I don't have it on paper to show that I am capable of it, but showing that I did 7 credits one semester with all A's, I'm hoping by cutting back work, it would reflect the same.
And you're right, you've done very well since returning in 2020, so
Thank you.
kudos to you. Okay, so you said you've done some shadowing in different healthcare professions. You're obviously interested in MRI. Why?
I like to see the internal side of the body. At first I thought nursing is where I wanted to be, and you're treating what the patients are telling you, what they, I feel sick, I feel nauseous, and all those things. But I've learned that I like to see what's going on inside the body. And first I toured surgery after just looking at nursing broad spectrum. I loved being able to see people being cut open, but with imaging, we could just see how the body's working together, looking at those images to tell a bigger story. If you look at a break, being able to see, maybe how the bone broke or why this patient's having this kind of pain and feeling, rather than just listening to what they say. I like to be able to break it apart, see what's going on in the inside more.
Okay, and imaging certainly taps into that interest for you. Can you describe what an MRI tech does on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, from my shadow experience and just kind of doing a little bit of research, I would say that an MRI tech, their main job is working their department, getting patients from the holding area, taking them back to the MRI room, ensuring that they have no metal of any sorts, making sure that they're safe and protected, placing them on a certain kind of table or bed, and then making sure if it's the right foot or the arm or the back, that they're lined up properly to get a good clear image. And then kind of walking through the patient of telling them what they might experience. It might be loud, or it might be really cold. It's gonna be about 30 minutes. And then as a tech, we step back out of the room, and then we help take that scan of what is ever affecting that patient. And then after the scan, we help send it to the radiologist to read what's going on with that patient. But we make sure that we give them the best images that we can so they can do their job of reading and diagnosing anything that the patient has going on.
What do you think some of the unpleasant aspects of being an MRI tech might be? And then as a follow-up, healthcare in general, what are some of the unpleasant aspects of it?
From what I could gather from my time shadowing is, we don't see patients that are completely healthy and having the best day of their lives. They've either suffered maybe a fall or they're having chronic pain. And, it is hard to see patients suffering or going through something. And just in healthcare in general, our job is to help treat patients and take care of them. And sometimes it's difficult when you might have like a little baby or an older patient that's really, every patient's loved, but it could be someone's, grandmother, grandfather, and just seeing them go through such struggle is really heartbreaking. But I just try to focus on we're helping them, giving them this diagnosis could help change and better their lives. So I tried to look at it as a positive side and not the negative of how sad it is.
You feel like you would be able to make that not that transition, but to be able to care for someone even though they're in very difficult situations?
Absolutely. I feel like my job and my calling would be to take that negative situation and do my best to turn it around. They could be a really cranky or upset patient, and it might be just because they're in pain. It's not because they want to be a miserable person.
Okay.
And as a MRI tech, I would love to try to just make their day a little bit better, make their scan just a little bit more positive, or just try to add a little touch to make it more personal in there.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the MRI program a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, it's a full-time program, 2 years, associate degree level program. What do you remember from the admissions conference about like the academic standards of the program? Kind of give me a high-level overview of what you know about the structure of the program.
So I remember, because this is kind of one of my personal goals and standards, is that you have to get 80% higher, C or higher in all the classes to pass. And as you can tell by my grades, I've stayed well above that threshold. And to be able to be successful in the program, you have to score 80% or higher in every exam. You have the option to retake if you need to, or if you fail a test, you have to redo it to be able to be confident and understand all the material. The other parts of the program, like you said, it's full-time. I think what other areas to hit on?
You do realize it involves clinical work.
Oh yes, clinical.
You're working with real patients, or learning, I should say, with real patients under supervision, of course.
Yeah.
You realize, of course, that all of the academic coursework, it is, like you said, we do have high standards. We do all of the academic work here on site. So you're aware of kind of high level how the program is structured.
Exactly,
right?
yep.
Have you ever been in a course where you were required to score a certain percentage and then had to redo a test if you didn't?
No, I have not been, but I do feel like that's a great opportunity to ensure that I'm learning all the material. A lot of times you take a class, you fail a test, but you're not obligated to go back and relearn or better yourself with that material and come for the final. You're just praying that that's not on the final. So I really do like this approach, and it holds me accountable as a student to make sure that I learn that content, because that one area of content that I struggle with, it builds, and it could be the difference between passing my certification exam or not.
Okay, so let's say you're a student in our program and you've just completed a test, and in the next class you get the results back and your test does not meet that standard, that 80% standard. How do you react to that?
I cry. No, just kidding. No, I would first just really reflect on it. Did I put in my all for that exam? Was I prepared? Did I study all the material? Did I read that chapter? And then from there, if I feel like, yeah, I put in the work, I feel confident in this, I would go meet with the instructor and ask them, what areas did I really struggle with if I didn't get to review the test? If they let me review the test, I can kind of figure that out on my own. And just ask the instructor, okay, this concept I really struggled with, can you help me break it down? Or can I do a teach back to try to better understand this? And if it's just something on my end of just lack of studying or lack of preparation, that's just something I need to improve on. But my first thing would be self-reflection, and then two, asking for help. Maybe if it's not the instructor, just be a peer that scored well on the exam.
Okay, have you ever had a situation in your college life where you didn't quote measure up? And I know we looked at some of your early, academic work. So talk to me about a situation where your grades were not up to standard and how you reacted to the situation.
So the first go around of my first couple years of college, I would love to use that as an example, but it really wasn't, I wasn't setting a standard for myself. So therefore, I'm not gonna use that as an example, but rather, if you look at 2015, I had college algebra. I got an F in the class. Algebra is just not my strong suit. I really struggle with math.
Most people do.
I can't even do basic math. But I knew that an F in math is not the caliber of student that I am, and I just needed to work harder. So before I took it again to repeat the course, I got a math tutor, and I worked one-on-one with them to really just prepare myself and just get myself ready for college. It's a pre-college algebra class that I took just to better myself on that topic, and then worked on it prior to the start of the class. And then I was able to take that class and actually got an A. So it was just kind of working extra hard to get myself up to the caliber, up to the speed of where I need to be for the other students to pass that class.
Okay. Was the instructor at fault in any way for the F?
No, I think that I was not. I thought I could sign up for e-learning classes and do it online, and it sounded great because I could just do it at my own time. And it was not any fault of the instructor. I didn't realize that I am not a student that can do e-learning. So I needed an instructor in front of me on the whiteboard so I can ask that question in real time. So if anything, it was my own fault for not realizing what kind of student and what learning process works best for me.
Okay. So your your more recent academic work is very good. So would you consider yourself a good student academically?
If we could just wipe away that first go around of college, yes.
Fair.
That's definitely the type of work and the effort I can put in. Holding myself accountable. I'm an A student. I have a 4.0 GPA now, and that's really the caliber of student I am.
What makes you a good student? Talk to me about your learning strategies and how you've been successful of late.
I'm definitely a perfectionist. I really like to give it my all and put in my all, and I know that the first go round doesn't reflect it, but also I've learned how to study. Part of my first go round was I didn't put in the time, I didn't create study schedules, I didn't time manage, and it just felt too overwhelming, so I just shut down. The second go around and this time, I've learned to create study schedules, how to ask for help, kind of put away the technology when I'm studying, doing after each lecture, taking a minute to mind dump. For a minute or two, I'd write down everything I remember from the class, then each day I review that. Some other kind of just strategies I use is I love note cards. So I learned to be successful, I need to make note cards for every chapter. Things like that has made the difference between a 2.0 GPA and a 4.0 GPA.
Okay, so you're trying some different learning strategies.
Mm-hmm.
You said flashcards, setting a schedule, just giving yourself some, time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel like you're a good student academically.
I think I'm a strong student academically, yes.
Then what motivates you? What drives you to be such a good student?
I finally found my calling. I know that I want to be in healthcare, and so I feel like I'm a type of person that always needs a carrot in front of them to succeed. My first go round, I didn't have the carrot, right? My parents were paying for school, I was just showing up, if that. And then the second go around, I was like, okay, I want to better myself. So I had a little bit of a carrot. But now that knowing I want to be an MRI tech, I'm tunnel vision, dialed in, ready to succeed, do whatever it takes to succeed. So with that, I'm naturally a driven person. So once I have that goal in mind, there's nothing stopping me between myself and accomplishing it.
Does it bother you if you don't achieve an A either for a course or even on an individual exam? Does that bother you? Does that eat at you?
I wish I could say no, but it does. But a lot of times it's just looking, did I understand that material? Did I give it my all?
Okay.
I like to think that every exam I study and I put in all the work, but there's times where, it might be Thanksgiving or a family might come in town, and
Sure.
as much as school, I want to say it's always going to be the priority. Sometimes we get distracted by something and you might get a B on a test, but my biggest thing is just making sure that in the next 2 years, keeping school is my number one priority, and I would love to have straight A's, but I know that that's not always possible, and I will do what I can to get that A, but at the same time, it's okay to get a B.
Okay, so you don't beat yourself up if you don't achieve that, the A standard.
A little bit on the inside, but
A little bit. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. What would your coworkers, I'm gonna turn your attention to your jobs, what would your coworkers say about you if I asked?
I believe my coworkers would say that I'm an independent worker. I have the ability to critically think. I always go above and beyond, and I have good integrity.
Okay. To what extent do you interact with the public, either currently or in your prior job?
With my prior job working at the county clerk's office, I worked with customers all the time, and you get many different types of people that come in. They're happy, angry, and just learning how to be a good support person for them, helping them meet their needs in the appropriate way. So with that, I definitely had to learn different approaches and different tactics on communicating with different types of people.
Okay. Talk to me about a project that you've had that was challenging and required more planning, organization, maybe critical thinking. Tell me about it and how did it go?
So my current job with packaging, with the holidays currently being in full swing, my manager tasks me with counting each package that we deliver for the next 25 days before Christmas, just to kind of track on what we're doing, and we can make like a big presentation on how many packages we had and where they went, and just kind of present it to our company owners. So with that, each day I'm in charge of kind of taking numbers from each associate and then putting it all together on one big spreadsheet. That sounds pretty simple, right? Just collecting data. But you have to work with each person on, did they get their numbers correctly? And then if they missed something, going back with them and trying to track down which package they forgot to count and allocate for. So I'm still currently in the process of working through it, but it's definitely been challenging, just working with different coworkers, different types, and kind of overseeing the whole project and then answering to my bosses on it.
Okay, so it's still in process, but what have you learned so far?
Not everyone likes to follow deadlines, and it's hard to adapt to different, my performance is if I can get this whole report together. So I'm relying on other people's data, and it's not, just yelling at them, give me your numbers, right? I have to work with them, and if they're not able to do it themselves, sit down and help them figure out what their numbers are so that I can put my report together. So it's been definitely a growing experience because I have to rely on other people to do my job and trying to figure out a way to work with everybody. And there's about 10 different associates I'm working with to collect numbers, and they work different shifts. So it is difficult to kind of create time and work with each other.
I can imagine in your current job at K&M, a lot of packaging has to go by, and in a short amount of time you want to process these the packaging. But also at the same time, do you have to in your current job do you have attention to detail? How do you balance attention to detail with also expected to have a lot of throughput?
It's definitely a very hard thing to balance because that conveyor belt doesn't slow down, but if you catch something, you have a couple seconds to look at it and figure it out before the next one comes, and if you miss the next package, it could mean someone getting a Christmas gift or not, or if it's not the holiday season, just a shipment or not. So with that, it's being able to look at something quickly and make a decision. And I really feel like this would help in healthcare because we see things and then just knowing when to speak up quickly and when not to. And I think this job, I didn't realize that it would have a cross carryover, but it does. So with my current role, if I see something wrong with the package, I immediately take it off the belt. And then if there's a little bit of a lag time, I'll have a chance to go back and double check it. And hopefully it's just one package here or there, but sometimes it could be 10 packages. And then if it gets to a point where it's gonna cause a backup, then I know I need to stop the process and then figure out what's going on.
So you are allowed to stop the process if you notice something is not correct.
Absolutely,
Okay.
but it costs, my boss's money every time we stop
Sure.
that process. So it has to be within good reason and using that judgment of, is this an appropriate time? Did I see something worthy enough to stop it, to catch it? Or, maybe people will be stopping that belt every 5 seconds because they think something's wrong.
Okay. Which job do you think required more attention to detail? Your current role with K&M or your prior role with the county clerk's office?
My current role, I definitely, it's a step up from my job at the county clerk's office. At the county clerk's office, it was more of just receiving that mail, that package, helping people address things, and sticking it in a bin. With this job, I'm responsible making sure that these get to the right trucks, and a lot more packages and a lot more attention to detail. So it's definitely has given me the ability to grow and further my critical thinking skills. Not that I'm managing associates, but my ability to work with others and kind of troubleshoot things and communicate with my coworkers better.
So you feel like you have reasonably good attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me about your strengths. What is it you're really proud of? What strengths could you bring to the program that would help you be successful?
I think my academic history is actually one of my strengths, and it may not look like a strength on paper, but the ability to take my mistakes and learn from them is one of my biggest strengths, because I can show you that, I might fail at something once, but give me that second opportunity, give me that exam B, and I can turn it around, or I'll do anything I can to turn it around. And I think that this would be a great thing for your program, because there might be other students that are struggling and they don't have that bandwidth or that thought process on how to do better. And so I can show them, or I can be a mentor, like a peer mentor, help them study. I learned different study strategies, and if someone's lacking that, I can help start a study group or work with others. But also, help myself. I know how to persevere through something and get feedback and change from it.
Those are all great. Can't argue with any of them. You know what I'm going to ask next?
What are you doing? Weaknesses?
What are some of the weaknesses that are relevant to this program, and what are you doing about them?
Mm-hmm. Definitely being a perfectionist. We spoke a little bit about, if you don't get that A, what do you do? And if you asked me that maybe a couple of years ago, I would say, just shut down. If you look at my grades, when things got tough at the beginning, I just shut down. I didn't go to class. I didn't want to try. But I, worked with a therapist. I did a lot of self-improvement on it's okay not to be the best at everything, as long as you figure out, how you can be better and see that route. So just continuing to work on myself and understanding that, you don't always have to be the best, but as long as you're trying and giving it your all, that's okay too.
I can imagine it's been a journey for you, starting from the time you started in 2003 at Ivy Tech until where you are now. Learned a lot about yourself. I'm sure along the way.
And that's why I'm definitely ashamed of my first grades, but also at the same time I'm not, because I learned from them.
Great. Well, I have one more question for you. Summarizing everything, $1 million question: why should we accept you into the MRI program?
I feel like I'd be a great fit in this program, because from my opportunities at shadowing, I know what it takes to be an MRI tech from the PAC meetings and just speaking to other MRI techs in my research. And I truly feel like I have it. I feel like I could help push this program forward by being a strong academic student, showing my worth through my grades, and just help be a leader in the class, help future MRI techs, study, and we could be the next great group of MRI techs and move the program forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I've asked a lot of questions of you. What questions do you have of me?
What do you feel like, what characteristics would make a great MRI tech?
I think the line of some of my questions reflect that. Number one, compassion. You have to come into any profession within healthcare for the right reason. You want to genuinely help patients. So while a job may be fascinating, if that's not there, then I think someone's at risk for burning out over time. So there has to be a genuine compassion for helping people. In terms of MRI specifically, I think one needs to have really good academic history, proven academic history, because a lot of the material in the MRI program is very scientific, very theoretical, and it is important that someone be able to kind of think, theoretical and understand scientific concepts, in addition to, of course, anatomy, physiology, and things of that nature. attention to detail is so important. And that's why I was asking you
That one.
those questions. And it's true, and again, in all aspects of healthcare, but especially in MRI. And you touched on this earlier with screening patients and metal and so forth. Disasters can happen in MRI if we lose attention to detail. And it's very important that our MRI technologists and students endeavoring that have good attention to detail. So I think when we step back and look at a successful MRI tech, it's a good combination of those. Not that there are other attributes that I'm not mentioning, but certainly I think those are for me, some of the key attributes of a successful MRI technologist.
And last question, I saw your current drop rate was 75–80% students. What has been the biggest hindrance for students being successful in your program?
Most students leave our program for personal reasons, either maybe financial reasons or family reasons, what have you. Actually, probably 75% of the students who don't complete our program leave for personal reasons. A minority of the students may struggle academically or adapting clinically to the program. And one of the difficult things to predict is how well a student might do clinically, because they can be an outstanding student academically. How does that translate into how successful a student is clinically? So there have been a few students who have dropped out because they were struggling. In the end, big picture, I would be suspicious of any program that has a 100% graduation rate year after year after year. Likewise, I would be suspicious of a program that has a 50% graduation rate year after year. So I think when we step back and look at our big picture, having a 75 to 80% graduation rate is fairly consistent with what other MRI programs in the country have. And I think that's the right balance for what the program should be about.
That was really all of my major questions.
Great. Well, just to wrap up, we will conclude our interviews this week, and then next week we'll, as a team, meet to decide the applicants who get accepted into the program, or those who don't. But regardless, either way, we'll let you know so that you're not left hanging. If you have any questions between now and then, don't hesitate to reach out. If not, then whatever happens, I wish you best of luck.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome. You're welcome. By the way, she's in.
Those are not my transcripts.